Well, hello and welcome to AWN TableTalk. I'm Crystal Niehoff, owner and commander of Army Wife Network.
Hi, I'm Wendy Baird-Packard. We're very excited that you could join us at the table today.
Hi, and I'm Tracy Hargis. Give us a shout out and tell us where you're watching from today.
Come pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, and let's share how to do military life together.
On this episode of Table Talk, the teens are taking over. We are excited to welcome 3 VIPs to our show today. They are children of active duty military and are here to share their perspective of life as a military child. So boys, please introduce yourselves and say hi.
My name is Levi Hargis.
I'm Baird-Packard. And I'm Isaac. I'm a redhead.
Well, welcome to the table, gentlemen. We're so glad you're joining us today. And so just to let's jump in and get started. We have a lot of things to cover because we really want to pick your brains.
Yes.
What is life like for military kids and teens? And I know you have a lot to offer. So, well, as military kids, you move a lot. So, as most military families do, let's start off by how many different military bases have you been to?
I've probably been to around 6. I personally have been around to 4 or 5.
I've counted and I've been to 6.
Wow, that's a lot. So how do you feel about moving around so much? And
It's weird, and you just don't expect it sometimes. Like, you want to go to a certain place, and then you move to this other one, and like I got Hawaii, we thought we'd never get that.
Yes, and we asked for Hawaii, but we never thought we would get it. And then we're already here, and we're like, wow, we're in Hawaii. It's crazy. So there's some fun places that you can move to.
Right. So have you ever told your parents that you really wanted to move somewhere, or do they ask for your input about where?
Well, kind of. They asked, where do you want to go next? So we're like, some places, like next we want to go to somewhere where it's snowy half of the year. Because here it's not snowing at all.
Yeah, not
So.
at all.
Unless you go to Mount Mauna Kea.
Yeah, that's
on
on
the
the
big
yeah.
island.
Yeah.
Get some snow up there. So how about you, Brock?
Well, it's sort of hard to give your input because it's needs of the Army,
Right.
and where the Army at the end has final say. Because our first PCS was Colorado, and Colorado wasn't even on the list that we put up. We were like England, somewhere up in the south, and they were like, "Yep, Colorado Springs," and we were like, "Where?"
Yeah, we didn't know there was a base there
Yeah,
because we were still pretty new.
So getting it through that was sort of difficult, and then after your second or third PCS, it sort of just gets into a rhythm. Every 3 years, every 4 years, you sort of just expect it, I guess, and you learn to live in that way to be okay with the decisions being made.
That is true, because my kids, even now, after a couple of years, they're like, so where are we going next, Mom? Or when are we moving now? You were telling me, they're like expecting it and getting ready for it.
We're not exactly wanting to move. We're just wanting to know when so that we can do stuff in that time.
You can get ready.
And so
That's
we'll
true.
have enough time to do all the stuff that we've wanted to do here. Yeah.
Has there ever been a place that you've been where you've wanted to move and you were kind of counting down the weeks? Or the,
No, but
Yeah.
I was a little kid and we were in Ohio, and I came back when I was older, and I saw that house. It was nice.
What did you? I know Brock has one.
I was going to say real fast, and then I'll come right back to you, Brock. Just so everyone knows, Brock belongs to Wendy, and Levi and Isaac belongs to Tracy. So
Yeah, they're not taking us away from our parents.
We are our parents.
So Brock, how about you?
It's a difficult question because when we first got into the Army, there wasn't really a place I wanted to go. And then Colorado came, and I was like, that would be fun to go back to. So if I had a choice, I would want to go back to Colorado.
What about a place you wanted to leave? I know the answer to this. I know you have one.
I did not want to stay in Texas for very long.
I'm sorry, Texas folks, but we were there for a short period of time, and it was a rough transition.
Yeah.
And we had a really dinky one-bedroom apartment on the second floor, and it leaned, and it was our first move, and it was a big challenge.
Third grade, 3 different places in 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Three
So
times.
was that at the same time when that happened? Oh, wow.
Yep.
So what post in Texas was it?
You were at Goodfellow Air Force Base.
Oh, okay. Wow.
St. Angelo, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, so does it get harder or easier as you get older to move? How do you feel?
Since I'm the oldest one of the 3
I was
kids.
going to say the oldest one in our family. He's an only child. He's the only child. I was like, what? Okay, got it. Of the 3. All right.
But being the oldest of the 3 kids, it's a little easier for me because I'm more exposed to technology, and my friends have a little bit more technology. Like we have Xbox, PlayStation, and we have all those. And then we have the social media. We have Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and then text messaging, FaceTime, calling, email. We have all these different types of communication. And then you can write letters or postcards and stuff like that. So it's a little easier to communicate. So it gets a little easier.
Very true. Have you stayed connected with friends through the years?
I have.
Awesome. How about
Isaac. So I think it gets a little harder because you have more responsibilities and your parents are relying on you to do those responsibilities, or they'll stop trusting you, and then you won't be able to start getting more things like, technology and stuff.
Like this guy who has technology.
I want to get a new phone, but my parents are like, nope, you're gonna break it, because last phone I had, I jumped in a pool with it. And Dad's like, no.
Okay. I can see him do that. How about you, Levi?
Well, it's kind of normal because now I'm used to it, and I had friends in North Carolina, a lot of friends, and I had to move away, and it was sad, but I just remembered them. And I have FaceTime. I've FaceTimed before, but can't get a hold of them right now.
Yeah, has the time change kind of thrown some of that off?
Yeah, I have to call them at like 12 because it's 6 there.
Right. That's one thing my kids have had kind of a challenge with, is they have some really good friends that they made while they were in Texas, and to stay in touch. Of course, they're now I think they're back in Texas. But the time change, it's a little easier because in the fall, because we're only 4 hours behind Central Time Zone, but like right now, 5 hours, and it's funny how that 1 hour makes all that difference in 6 hours from the East Coast. So, well, speaking of friends and staying connected, when you go to a new duty station, a new community, how do you make friends? How do you connect with others and get involved?
Me, I turn my introvert self into an extrovert and start talking. Like
I love that.
I was scared to do this thing, and because I'm an introvert, I don't like to talk to people and meet new people. But knowing that I had to become an extrovert to be able to have friends, I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. And then I just got friends. And some people introduced to me, and I didn't introduce to them, and we became friends.
That's awesome. How great is that you recognize you're an introvert, but if you want to make friends, you've got to get out there, and even though it's
This guy.
sometimes kind of scary, he's an extrovert. Is there anybody he doesn't talk to?
Levi, he said,
which is great.
Levi, he said, Isaac, you got to become an extrovert to make friends.
You gotta talk to people. You gotta socialize.
That sounds like his dad.
I was going to say, that sounds so much like your husband, Tracy. Oh my gosh.
What I do is I walk to people's doors, or I do what Isaac does and stuff. I walk to people's doors, knock on the door, they open it. I say, "Yeah, any kids I can play with?"
He has done that.
That's true story.
We didn't know until after he had done it, but yes, he has done that before.
Instead of ding dong ditch, ding dong, do you have kids?
Yes, that's what he did.
Oh dear.
Sometimes you got to just really get out there and do that. How about you, Brock?
For me, it's a little different because these two are homeschooled, but I'm in a public school system and a public school setting. So I see a lot of different people, and I have to make choices like, do I want to be your friend? Should I be your friend? Or
That's a good point.
do I want you to talk to me? Or vice versa. But it's a little easier with classes and things like that because eventually teachers will make you talk to somebody even if you don't want to. And then clubs and things like that, clubs, sports, Pacific Club here has helped a lot making friends. I do marching band and other extracurricular activities like that, so it definitely helps to make friends.
Get very involved
He used to ask him when he was in elementary school, I'd say, do you know the name of anybody in the class? Why don't you know the name of anybody? Find somebody's name. Who'd you learn their name today? And I had to kind of ask him, are you making friends? And he'd be like, I don't know, it's my friend. I don't know his name. I'm like, find out his name.
Yeah, that's what we're like.
What is
It's
his
like,
name?
kind of important.
so what's your friend's name?
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just call each other dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd push him. Tell me your friend's name. Make a friend.
That's awesome. So we've talked about some of the that you've moved around. Y'all actually have quite already in my world. You're young in your young lives. Been to several duty stations. So far, what's been your favorite?
North Carolina for me.
What
I'd
made
say-
North Carolina? Was it Fort Bragg?
Yes. Fort Bragg? Yeah.
Mhm.
I had a lot of friends there. Nurse. I had Zane, Noah, a bunch of other friends. Using my specialty, going to ding dong ditch. that old trick.
In a nice way, though.
It's a classic.
Well, he put a new twist on it. Ding dong friends.
Ding dong
There you go.
friends.
I like that. Yeah.
My favorite place was probably New York because of the snow. I really liked the snow there. It was Fort Drum, I think.
Yeah, in New York, I had a little four-wheeler, and when it was snowy outside, I rode around in donuts. And my dad videotaped me. It was funny.
I bet he did.
I saw it.
I guess for me would have to be Colorado. And that sort of comes with the time we spent there. We spent almost 5 years there. So we had more time to sort of experience the entire state. And it was right next to a bunch of other really cool states like Arizona, Utah. We went over there. New Mexico, Texas. We popped in over there for some of my racing. And then the snow there, it was beautiful. It was so sparkly. Like if the sun hit it perfectly, it would just look like a glitter bomb.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
And I feel like the coolest thing about it was you could go up in the mountains for a weekend and freeze your butts off and then come down and it would be sort of warm down the mountains. So yeah, that was my favorite beauty
So
station.
you said racing. That piqued my interest. So what kind of racing?
So back when we were on the mainland, we did a bunch of RC racing, so remote control cars. And I did that for just about 4 years.
Oh, how neat. That is so cool.
Yeah.
We tried to
You
get
gotta show
something
me
that we
your
could
cars.
transfer with, that we thought we could do it everywhere. So it was a sport that he could take with him, and then we got here and they don't
And they
do
don't.
it. They don't do it here. So we're like, all right, we'll just shelf those cars until we get back to the
I gotta
mainland.
see them.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. You'd like them.
So Isaac,
fix
you
them.
were saying when you were at Fort Drum, you enjoyed this, winter activities.
Yeah.
Was there anything in particular?
Well, me and my brother, we built igloos with the snow because it used to be really high. And probably about 2 feet high. And we would build like this tunnel into this big globe inside the snow.
Oh, cool.
That That's so cool.
Igloo.
So before we finish up we're going on to another topic with them, but before we finish up on PCS, what advice would you give to other military kids dealing with the PCS? And so let's start with Isaac first, and we'll go down the line.
I would say, well, you're gonna move. It just happens. It's gonna happen again another day, and it's gonna be hard because you'll have to leave your friends and try to make new ones. Try to make new friends, so then you would be able to have fun. Because whenever I moved here, I didn't want to talk at all. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't want to be the center of attention. But soon, Pacific Club was my place I went to all the time. And it was like just the one place that I felt like I belonged. Like we talked about the Bible, and it taught me more in a spiritual way. And I made friends there, good friends that were awesome. I have one that moved. His name was Xavier, and he was my best friend. We had sleepovers. We had popcorn all the time. We watched movies, and it was really fun.
So, Brock and Isaac, you've talked a lot about Pacific Club. Could you real fast let us know what is Pacific Club?
Pacific Club is a study place for
Teens.
middle schoolers and high schoolers.
Teens.
Yeah, teens, pretty much. And we try to talk to each other and make friends and still talk about scripture and learn some things.
Oh, awesome.
And then, so that's on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And Thursdays we have a thing called Go Night. And we go down to a park. So this time we all go down to Porter. And we do this thing called Sock Wars. And it's pretty much just socks full of flour. And you just throw it at it. It's capture the flag with a twist.
It's like capture the flag, dodgeball with little
Socks full of
Flour.
flour. Like soft baseballs.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Brock, what advice would you give about to other military kids about PCSing?
My advice to all the military kids out there, and also to the military parents, because they sort of have to realize what we go through. We leave all of our friends and all of our memories behind, and you sort of have to push the kids a little bit to get out there, make friends, do other activities. I know my mom, when we first got to Colorado, I wasn't doing too well. I was sort of lacking in a sense. So we did different clubs and things like that. We did, STEM club?
Mm-hmm.
And we did
Choir,
that.
STEM,
we did STEM,
lots of
choir,
cool stuff.
all that stuff. And that really helped me make friends in the 2 years that I was in elementary school. And then when we went to middle school, it sort of helped a little more because I already had friends and it wasn't that bad. So,
Awesome.
And something we had to discuss, that transition was, he didn't start this military thing till he was almost 9. So he had already lived 9 years in one place. And so this transition was a little bit tough. And we learned very quickly that, he felt like he was the new kid all the time, and he was the new kid. And we'd been there for weeks and he was still the new kid. And there was a counselor, and she did an introduction program where she would take you and you got stickers for every department, and she would visit every department in the school. And then you got a bear or something at the end when you got all of your stickers. And I said, it's just so hard being the new kid. And she said, oh, he's not the new kid. We get about 20 new kids every week. He's been here 3 weeks. He is so not the new kid or whatever. And so that was a realization and I had to take that back to him. You may feel this, but somebody behind you is newer than you. And so maybe you have to kind of get up and help them and get more involved and realize you're not the new kid. There's a lot of people in the exact same position you're in. And that was, I think, a little bit of a shift for both of us, that he went, oh, okay, there's a lot of people going through this at the same time. And that helped him.
That is so true.
Sorry, I cut in front of you. Sorry.
And Levi.
Oh, yes. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna be moving away from your friends, or maybe your friends moved before you and you're going to the same place. I moved from South Carolina to here, and And I had a friend in South Carolina. His name was Titus. And he actually moved here after I did.
That's cool.
Yeah, they go
We
to
had-
Awanas.
Who was that? Did that happen to us?
We had the same scenario. We had a friend named Joxier,
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
we met them in Colorado, and then they PCS'd here, and we just happened to PCS here as well. Just like, I don't know, a year, 6
About
months
6 months.
after.
Mhm.
So it was sort of nice to already have a connection in a new place, so you could sort of feed off of them and sort of get more friends on each side. So
That is so cool.
Small, big army.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Right,
you
that's
PCS enough. Eventually, you PCS to somebody you know.
Absolutely.
And that happened when you went to the school, and you're like, "Oh, I know that kid. He was in Colorado in middle school."
Yeah, I had a friend, and she found a friend in her school from 4 years ago. It's crazy.
That is cool. Yep, my kids have done that already.
Mm-hmm.
So that is super cool. So let's talk for a little bit, and we may run along with the show today because there's such great information. You all are great. So let's talk a little bit about deployment and what is that like for you when your dads deploy? So let's start with Brock this time, and then
So
maybe Levi and Isaac. How's that?
for me, again, we started a little late into the Army, and we haven't had as many deployments as other families, and that also comes with jobs and other things like that. Needs of the Army also change, but we've only had one deployment. But it was the first time my dad's been away from me for more than like a week, so it was definitely a change.
Except for boot camp.
Except for boot camp. But we could talk to each other a lot, and then when my dad deployed, it was different. It was definitely weird to not have him home by 6 o'clock every day. And then when you find out where he is, and then he calls you every other week, you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Because you ask him what he's doing, and it's like the same old, same old. So the only thing that really changes is our lives. So we can go on with our lives, but he overseas sort of just does the same thing over and over and over again. It's just minus coming home. So.
And there's probably a lot of things that he may not be able to share with you that you find out some things after he returns. Mm-hmm. So you've got that gap there. So that's the interesting point I found with that is that you said that life goes on. You know, that's something to remember. We life goes on for everyone, and so in that interim, and so it's hard on both sides. I'm sure your dads feel badly for having missed out on certain parts of your life, but they're out fighting for our country. But you shared a story. You know where I'm going with that one because I absolutely love it.
No, I don't. So now I'm afraid. All right, go ahead.
That was super cute.
During rehearsals yesterday, I said that every day we asked him what he had for lunch, and he said a bacon cheeseburger or something like that. So I said yesterday that he was saving the world eating a cheeseburger.
Eating it one cheeseburger at a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cheeseburger and talking
I
about.
think he's the only person that went to deployment and gained weight.
Yeah.
Because he would have an omelet. He worked night shift, and so he'd work overnight. So he was kind of eating his dinner at breakfast. So he'd eat this big cheeseburger thing and then go to bed, and then his breakfast was like an omelet at night, and it was kind of this weird eating habit. But he ate the same thing for almost 9 months.
Saving the world, eating a cheeseburger.
Eating a
So,
cheeseburger.
how about you, Levi? What's it like for you when your dad deploys?
Well, it's going to be hard because your dad's gone and he'll do stuff for you all the time. And he just helps you out a lot. And when he's gone, you're going to have to do those things. And you're going to get tired and you're just going to have to be tough in those rough times.
That's very true.
Very good.
Isaac?
Well, it's my dad's first deployment. It was really scary. I didn't know what was going to happen. Was he going to die? He's going to the war. He's going to hurt himself. But my mom told me he's going to be fine. He fights like a barbarian, and he will do anything to protect you guys. So that made me feel better. And knowing that he's a chaplain, he won't really fight. He has someone fighting for him like a bodyguard. So
Like a bodyguard.
a bodyguard with a K-12.
Okay.
M16.
All right.
Only military kids would understand.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what would, yeah. Make it so.
So what changes in your family occurred? Like, did you see that your family functioned differently while your dads were deployed?
A little bit.
It was definitely a transition time, and especially for the first deployment, everything changes a little bit, but it's hard to really think about it because again, life goes on and you have to move on because you can't just dwell on the past because when we hit the middle of deployment, that was the hardest time
It was rough.
because we were like, it's no closer than it is far away.
Mhm.
But then we realized we have to keep going. We have school, we have work. And were you in school at the time?
I was going to
So she was doing school while I was doing school, and we sort of helped each other on that because I was doing harder math than she was in college.
It's coming. It's true. He's better at yes.
But then you sort of have to think about, as at the kids' respect, you have to think about we have to do more for the parents. We can't make our dads or moms worry overseas what's happening at home. They have enough to worry about while they're on the front lines or in a tent eating a cheeseburger. But, we as kids have to do some more chores and be able to take responsibility, which is why being a military kid, you see the development of, being more grown up. We become more grown up a little bit quicker, and we're a little more sophisticated at times.
Okay, I'll go with that.
We expect more out of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's more
We
to
do.
be expected from us, so we sort of have to fill that.
Well, what change happens whenever my dad's gone? I become the man in the house, and I'm the one that's supposed to give all, not like be a, communist, but just tell them that they're supposed to do this, not be the leader that wants to lead everybody. Be the leader that wants to be the friendly leader,
And be an
and
example.
be an example.
There you go.
Yeah, and Levi doesn't like it whenever I become the leader or the man of the house because he doesn't like to follow my rules.
He's always bossing me around.
That's what his older siblings
I was going
are
to say,
supposed to
is
do.
that deployment or is that just
Andy.
siblings?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
just
know.
siblings.
And it's kind of weird with the changes when dad's gone because mom becomes dad. He's and then he's like,
Yes.
whenever dad comes home, you guys are in trouble. And
Yeah.
I always want to hear good things. Like, oh yeah, he gotten a 100 on his math test. Not, oh yeah, he broke a vase.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, if your dad's gone, you're gonna have to try to be good to your mom and help her out, because now she has to do most of that work when you don't want to do it. But you should try to help her out, because she's gonna be going through rough times while he's gone, and she has to do a lot of work, and you should help out with that. And she would be happy with that, and then your dad comes home, she tells your dad, and your dad's like, wow,
You're the hero.
good job.
And mom does everything for you. She does the dishes. She does your laundry.
Cooks
She
your
helps
food.
you in school. She cooks food for you. She keeps you alive and teaches you lessons. And
That would be important.
yes,
Just keep you
without
alive.
mom,
when she
without
keeps you
mom,
alive.
yeah, without
That's the goal.
mom, it would be a tragedy with just dad.
It's kind of true, isn't it?
And then we're always she asks us to do work, we're like, oh, come on. But when you think about it, she's really doing all the work for you. So then it's actually good to help her sometimes.
That's true. That's true. So what I hear is make a conscious effort to help mom out, understanding that, I mean, you're helping the entire family out, and the older ones can be an example to the younger ones, and so it takes a team to get through a deployment. Family is teamwork. So with that said, what advice would you give to other military kids who are dealing with a deployment right now?
Well,
Stay strong.
treat your mom like she's a queen.
Aw.
And
Tracy's like,
I'm coming to your house.
Yeah,
good.
I'd like to come to my house too.
What? They're not giving you back massages and putting massaging your hands and feet and doing
Well,
the
Levi
dishes?
does that. It's like,
I
hey,
do
mom.
massage your feet.
Yeah, she's like, hey, mom, I
Nice.
can massage your feet for free.
1
15
penny.
cent tax.
Okay.
I'll take some notes on that, son.
How about you, Brock?
Doesn't
Well,
massage my feet.
Well,
No.
no, that's just advice that I can give to other military kids and their parents as well is it's definitely hard, but you can't really dwell on it. You have to realize you need to keep going, and if you don't, it's not going to stay the same, and it's going to get harder if you just think about your dad or your parent that's overseas. It's just going to get harder, and the days are going to feel like it goes way slower. I know in our deployment, at our halfway point, that was the hardest time because it was like the same amount of distance, and it sort of, those few days sort of slowed down a little bit. And then as we started to get to the end of the deployment, it went a little bit faster. And then we always have the saying, the Army counts 1, 2, 4, 7.
Explain that.
Because my dad was supposed to come home before they had numbered planes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And was he on 3 or 4?
I think he was like on one.
He was on 1.
Yeah.
And was there like an officer or something on like there was a high ranking
Something
officer
happened.
or something on 3 or 4. So they moved that one first. So he came home like a week later, and we were like, oh, because we got the call he was coming home. We were like, yes. And then they were like, nope, he's not coming home. And we were like, no.
And we watched all the other buses.
We don't
come
care
home.
what you
They
think.
would be they would be publicized that all these other homecomings were happening, and we were like, oh.
And we were waiting for hours, and then it finally came, and then he got home, and then life went on as usual. It was like nothing had happened before, and I remember wondering if it was going to change, if anything was going to change, and it was sort of reassuring when he got home, and it was sort of the same. It was the same thing as when he left.
For us through deployment too, we really focused that, like he said, and he's saying it, that he had to keep moving forward. So he had to focus on, you have to go to school and do well. You can't just be whining that he's gone. You have to succeed in what you're supposed to. You got to do your job, which is go to school and do what you need to do. And so that was important for him to focus on that through that.
I think sometimes military kids learn early lessons that we learn later in life, that, things happen and it's beyond your control. And so you have to just move on. Like you said, you have to go on with your life. Life doesn't stop. It keeps moving on. And so you've got to keep moving with it. And there's no sense in, you can feel sorry for yourself, but what does that accomplish? So find the positive in it and keep moving forward. So anyone else want to share any advice before we move on to our last question?
No.
Stay strong.
Stay strong.
Keep
That's
moving
very
on.
good. There's strong, then there's Army strong, and then there's military kids strong.
Yeah.
So last question. I wanted to save a fun question for last. So what is a super fun adventure that you've got to experience because you're a military kid or part of a military family?
Wow.
Probably being able to go different places that you've never been to.
And experiencing those places and what journeys you can go on that those places have. I mean, here in Hawaii, I've climbed the highest mountain here on this island, which is Mount Kahala. And then I did Stairway to Heaven, which is 11 miles. And it's just, if you make yourself like get to the point and what's it called? Where you just stick it and you're convinced that you have to do it.
Your goal, you're going to make your
It's your
Like
goal.
a bucket list.
And you're determined to do that. And it's amazing what you can do. I mean, 11 miles up a mountain and 10 miles up the highest mountain on the island. It's just amazing what you can do.
And yeah,
That's awesome.
my dad is a chaplain, like I said, and we go on strong bonds.
Yes.
And we've gone to many places. We've gone down to Waikiki, Honolulu, lots of places. And probably we've been to Florida. We've been to Myrtle Beach, if you've heard of that. It's in North Carolina, in South Carolina. And we've been down to the Keys in Florida
Also, don't forget, believe it or not.
and New York.
Oh, that was cool. That's in
Is that
Orlando, right?
Ripley's?
Did you go to Orlando?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too.
There's
We've
a guy, a man, I know. There's a man that's 12 foot tall.
And
Wow.
yeah, and it's really fun knowing that we can go to places when you're in a military family. Like, I'm asking my Mom, let's do to California because they got tons of awesome things there. We can go to Hollywood. She's like, no, we're gonna be living out in the middle of the desert in 105 degrees.
Oh yeah, Fort Irwin.
Yes, I was like, no, I don't want to move there.
Oh, that's funny.
For me, there's a lot of cool things that we did. Colorado was great. Here, the Kahlua Ranch was awesome. We got to see where all the films were filmed here. But I think my favorite adventure that my mom actually brought up to me yesterday, because it was a little far back and I sort of forgot about it, but we did a cross-country road trip. And it was when was it? It was when we went home from Colorado, right?
We flew to Florida, and then my husband had to come back to work in Colorado, and he and I drove back. And we took about 2.5, 3 weeks to cross country and do all sorts of fun stuff.
We went to Indianapolis to watch the Indy 400, the Brickyard 400. And then we went up to St. Louis
Spent a couple days there.
and spent a couple days there.
We met friends in Ohio and camped in North Carolina and did all sorts of stuff.
We visited all the race shops there. It was definitely fun.
And you've got something really neat coming up.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So this next year, I guess it would be
December, January.
around December and January. The Hawaii All-State Marching Band, which is what I'm in currently, is going to march in the Rose Bowl Parade in Pasadena, California.
Awesome. So how does that look like? I understand you'll fly out sometime in December and
Yes.
head to California.
Um,
But it's not just a day. You were
No,
explaining to us earlier.
We're gonna spend around 7 or 8 days, and we're gonna fly out Christmas evening and then land in California, and then we'll go to all the like Disney, Epcot, or not Epcot. They don't have Epcot there.
Knott's Berry Farms.
Knott's Berry Farms.
Lucky.
We're going to be in Hollywood.
Hollywood
We're going to see how the
Studios.
floats are made in Pasadena.
Oh.
You're in March at Disney,
Mhm.
the Christmas parade.
We're gonna do the Christmas
Oh, how
parade,
cool.
the electric Christmas lights parade,
Something
or whatever
like
it's
that.
called. The Pasadena Rose Bowl Parade,
That's the big one.
and that's like 6 miles.
Wow,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So we've had some great opportunities from Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's cool, and he just got certified as a diver too. So
Yes.
that's kind of cool. We would have never done that if
Wow.
we hadn't have been here. So,
Right.
and I think you guys are certified, aren't you? Isaac, do you guys dive with your dad?
No,
Yeah,
we dive,
sometimes.
but we're not certified.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna be moving, so do we really need a certification?
Not for a while yet. Working.
I don't want my dad to
Moving
feel
on.
bad. I don't want my dad to feel bad, like, oh, he doesn't want to dive with me anymore.
That was so fun. Well, that's it for today, and it has been super fun chatting with you. So thank you so much, Brock, Levi, and Isaac, for joining us today, and thank you for sharing about military life and your perspective of military life. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It was
You're
great.
welcome.
Great help.
And viewers, thank you for watching and for your comments and questions.
Did you enjoy the video? We would love it if you would like and share with your friends. Mark your calendar for our next AWN Table Talk on Friday, May 11th at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, when we will all celebrate moms during the month of May.
Got a mom question for us? We would love to hear from you. Comment below or email us at info@armywifenetwork.com. And we will work to answer your questions on our next AWN Table Talk.
In the meantime, be sure to sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter to stay up to date on all the latest at AWN. Head over to armywifenetwork.com and click on the computer icon about halfway down the page and join our email list.
We are your interactive empowerment for Army Wives by Army Wives. Thanks for watching.